Hi everyone, my name's Ryan H. Lewis, and have you or someone you know purchased a PS5 recently? Well, I haven't. I have not been able to purchase one, a PlayStation 5. I've been looking all over, like probably many of you. And so I read an article a while ago, maybe a couple weeks ago, about a Twitch bot that had been checking stock for PlayStation 5s on these stores. And that got me thinking, hey, I'm a software developer. Couldn't I just write a bot to check stock and text me when it's in stock so I can go and purchase it? That would be pretty awesome. Maybe if that happened, I would have a chance to actually get a PS5, which is something I would love to do before the end of the year, right? That would be a great way to end 2020 for me. So in this video, what we're gonna do is we're gonna build off of the last video where we used Lambda and Puppeteer to surf the web, and we are going to create a PS5 stock checker. We're gonna do it all in this tutorial video today. So in my last video, we built basically a Puppeteer application running on Lambda that launched Chrome and went to news outlets and pulled the headlines. We are going to start from that project, which I published here on GitHub, put the link in the description below. And we are going to add PS5 stock checking capabilities. Now in this video, we're only gonna look at Best Buy just because, I don't know, you can write them for all the other places you prefer to buy. Even just checking from one of them is fine. So let's get started. So I'm going to pull the Git URL down. I'm going to clone this project, which will pull it down. I'm going to cd surfing web lambda, and I'm going to change the name of the project just because I want it to be named a little bit differently, but you could leave the same thing. We do want to run npm install first to install any dependencies. And while that's working, I'm going to add the folder to my workspace. So here we go. We've got our serverless YAML, which we built in the last time. Now this is actually the original code, not the one that I actually created in the last video. So the structure is a little bit different than what it was that we built in the video. But basically everything in the code, everything like that is essentially the same. So let's look at our dependencies here. So with our dependencies, we've got serverless, Chrome AWS Lambda, and Puppeteer core. We also need the AWS SDK. So we are going to be doing things with the AWS SDK. Specifically, we are going to be creating an SNS notification. We're going to publish to a topic that will then text us when good things are happening, like PS5 is in stock. So now we've got that in our dependencies here in our package.json, which is good. Let me actually bump up the screen size a little bit more. So first thing we'll do is we'll change this to PS5 stock checker. This will be the name of our service. It's going to kind of change what is deployed, what things are named in the cloud, and things like that. So then we will modify our function. First of all, I don't know why I left it hello. We'll name it check. And then in the handler, we'll use the check function, which we're going to build. The memory size, fine at 1600. One thing I was finding when I was running this is that the connections time out at 30 seconds. So there's actually not really any reason to set a timeout of 60 seconds. So I changed it, so we'll change it so it goes down to 30 seconds. Then in the events, now here's where things get a little bit different. In the last video, we went to a browser and we basically specifically triggered the Lambda to run, right? We don't want to have to do this to check stock. That seems like a waste of time. What we really want is for the stock to check the stock every once in a while. So it will notify us when the stock is ready, and we can tap a link on our text message and go to it. So instead of HTTP here, we are going to use a schedule event. So this is a special event that the serverless framework prepares for you. We'll set it to run every 5 minutes. You can change it. I would say probably don't want to run it more than 5 minutes. Every time this runs, it will charge you. So be aware of that because it's a Lambda executing. But the schedule basically creates a CloudWatch event that is scheduled to run every 5 minutes. And so this is the easy way to set this up here in the serverless YAML. Okay, so those are really the main changes to our function. Now, what I said before, what we really want to do is we want to set up our Lambda function so it checks the stock and then it notifies us. How will it notify us? Well, we need to create an SNS, that's a simple notification service, a topic that then we can publish to. And as part of that, we also want a subscription set up to that topic with our phone number so that it will text us when things are available. So let me show you how you do that. So the first thing you need to do is create the SNS topic. So you can create it or attach it to one that already exists in your application, but I like to kind of create all of my infrastructure in the same document. So it just makes it cleaner. When I delete things, it deletes all the stuff and I don't have like topics or subscriptions hanging out there that basically are pointless. So we'll use the resources section. Now what this does, it lets you specifically write CloudFormation YAML that will be translated into resources created in your stack. So we've got resources here. I'm going to call this, we'll create our topic first. So I'll call it PS5 Stock topic. For the type, we will give it SNS topic. And for properties, we only really need a couple of properties, display name and the topic name. We don't really even need a display name, but I don't know, we can put it there. Just so it's easier to find when we're looking in our AWS account. So it's PS5 Stock topic. And then the name we will say is PS5 Stock topic. The same thing, but I believe you have to put underscores or hyphens or something in there so there's no spaces in it. CloudFormation wouldn't like that. And so once we have the topic, what we want is to go ahead and set up a topic subscription, which is basically you have a topic and you want to notify someone every time a new message gets published to it. That subscription, that's what's called a subscription. It can come in many different flavors. It can send the notifications to emails. It can do SMS, which is what we're going to be doing. It can trigger lambdas. It can hit HTTP points. It can do all sorts of things. And yeah, that's what a subscription is. So we've got our topic here. We want to go ahead and create our subscription as well. So we'll go to SNS subscription. And then we have to set a couple more properties here. So first of all, we set the topic ARN. This is the Amazon resource name for our topic. We're not going to hard code it here. We will put a reference to our PS5 stock topic above. So what this does is in the documentation for topic, the return value of a ref is the ARN. So we're able to just reference it and it will return the ARN for us. Then we're going to put our subscription information. So this is a couple specific options for protocol. I'm going to tell you what it is. We're using SMS here. So SMS, just all lowercase. And then the endpoint. In our case, because it's SMS, you need a phone number. If you're in the States, or actually wherever you are, you do need to include the country code. So in the States, it's 1. And so I'll say 1 and then 555-5555. That's my YouTube phone number. So you won't call me. Okay, so we've got our topic being created. We got our subscription being created. Our subscription includes our phone number. Put your phone number if you're following along here. And so this is going to create the resources that then our Lambda will publish to. Our Lambda is going to publish a message to the topic, which will then text us. So that's what we're gonna do. So the Lambda does need to know where the topic is, because it's gonna be publishing it there, right? So what it needs to do is I'm gonna create an environment variable. So then in my code, I can say process.env, whatever my name is, topic here, and it will give me the topic ARN that I can use to actually publish my message. So it becomes very convenient. And because in a serverless YAML, wherever we're still able to use this reference, I can do the same thing as I did below and reference the PS5 Stock topic, which will give me the ARN there, which is very easy. So here, I also like to put the URL here. The reason why is because if for some reason I want to change, it changes or updates, or I want to go in and basically point stuff to a different direction, I'm able to do that in the environment variables, which means I can just pop into AWS, change it really quick. I don't have to change the code, because that's one of the things is changing. When I was first playing around with this, I put it in the code and I wanted to make sure it was working for something that was in stock, because PS5 has been out of stock for a while. So I wanted to make sure this thing actually worked if something became in stock. And so I realized I had to upload the code again just to get a new URL in there. And it was boneheaded. And so I figured out, yeah, we really need to keep this in our code. So here's Best Buy. We'll search PS5. And here's the one that I want. This is the one with the disk. That's the one I'm interested in. What you'll do is you'll find the URL for whichever PS5 or whichever item you want. For Best Buy, we're going to be building it based on the structure of the Best Buy page. So this isn't necessarily going to be directly transferable to some other outlet. So you will need to do some work if you wanted to try to check it on like Amazon or Walmart or something like that. So I put the check URL in there. And then we've got our events set up. So this is going to be running at every 5 minutes. The one last thing we do need is our Lambda function needs permission to publish to the SNS topic. By default, it doesn't have any role that it's working under. Or actually, that's wrong. By default, it does have a role, but the role is only to publish logs to CloudWatch and events. So what we really want is to be able to give it more things that it can do, such as publishing to that SNS topic. And so what we can do is in the provider section, we can specify IAM role statements. So this is going to be things that it adds to the IAM role to allow that Lambda function to do, which is cool. So we want to set the effect to allow. For some reason, this is in quotes. As usual, I've got my code notes right here that I'm using. I'm not remembering all of this stuff by default. So the action that we want to do is SNS publish. So that's all we need to do. It doesn't need to check the SNS topic or anything like that. It just needs to publish to it. And then here, the resource, will specify the resource so that it is only giving the Lambda permission to publish to one topic. And that is going to be our PS5 stock checker. Stock topic. So, so that is basically our new serverless YAML. So it's pretty cool. We changed what the function name was going to be. We added some environment variables that it can pull from, and we created the SNS topic and subscription and gave the Lambda permission to check it. To publish to it. So let's get into the code now, because I know that's probably what you're all waiting for. So here's our handler. First of all, I changed the name of the function. Check. The second thing that we can do here is I can go ahead and pull in the AWS SDK. This is because I'm going to be needing to access the SNS part of the AWS SDK to publish that message. So I imported the AWS SDK. I'll make an SNS variable here. We'll do it lowercase since it's not a class. And this is going to be a new AWS SNS function. Cool. So that's all we need for that. Now, we don't need all this outlet info anymore, right? So I'll go down there and go ahead and delete that. And then we don't need our outlet here, so I can get rid of that. And really, we can go ahead and just create our browser first, because there's only one URL we're looking for. We don't have to really do anything up front. Here, we can go to our process.env. What did I call it? Check URL. So it's going to go to the page, and then it's going to wait for some tags and do some things. So we can kind of change the way that this works, because we don't need to return anything first of all, because we aren't responding to a web request. Sorry about that. So we'll go to our page, and yeah. So the way I have it here is I want to create an extra function. It makes it a little bit easier to do the page checking, the stock checking stuff. So we'll say check stock. I'm going to pass in the page variable that's been created that has already gone to that page. So basically right here, this const page, after we await for it to go to it, then we are going to call this check stock. And we can even await on that. And everything here is surrounded in the try catch. So if there are any errors, it will be taken care of there. And then I'm actually going to copy that stuff because we're going to use it just a little bit. Let's say const, what did I call it? Status. Yeah. So our check stock function is going to return, well, it's an async function, so it'll return a promise, but it is going to return whether the thing is in stock or not. So here, well, there's a couple things we want to do. First of all, we need to find the element that is going to tell us whether the thing is in stock or not. And on this page, it is this button. Now, I jumped around in the DOM a little bit in the last video. We don't need to do that. I will just tell you the selector that you can use. The selector is the add to cart button. And there actually are some classes on there that are added if it's out of stock. That's to kind of give it the gray thing to apply this no pointer, whatever that is. And so you could read those things, but I found that it was just a little bit easier to just select on the element and then do the same thing as this. Get the text content of that button, which in our case will say sold out if it's not what we want. However, if it's anything else, that's a good sign that it's probably in stock. So we'll store that in the button text, and then basically you can say. The way that I said it is I just did a button text does not equal sold out. So this will return true if the button text does not return sold out, which means that it must be in stock or some other status. If it does say sold out, it'll return false. So this status will basically tell us true if it's in stock. Wouldn't that be great? False if it's not. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do is I like to build a little status message. And I'll say status of PS5 stock is, and here I said status if it's in stock. If status is true, we'll say in stock. If it's not, we'll say out of stock. This just gives it a little bit makes it a little bit more human readable. We will log this status message. So I'll say, wow, didn't mean to do that. I'll say date.now to ISO string. This isn't the best way to register the date, but it is an easy way to just get some text in there with date information. So it's not that bad. Okay, next thing we can do is then we can log the status message. So this will just get the logging out of the way before we actually let us know. And hopefully the like probably nanoseconds that it takes to log this out won't interfere with the actual acquisition of a PS5 if it is in stock. So we'll say if status, which means if status is true, then this is when we want to send the notification. So I'm going to make a new function for this, but we'll say we're going to send notification, and we're going to say we're the only thing we know it's in stock. We're going to go ahead and send the URL because this is cool when I was testing it out. So what we want to do in our text message, we want to send the URL. So when you get the message, it says PS5 in stock, and you just tap the URL and it immediately takes you there. You just have to log in and go through the actual purchase flow. So having that URL is very important. And then finally, we can do a console log, and we can just say that the notification was sent. And a nice message. Hope you beat the other bots. Oh, so sad. I don't know if you tried to purchase one, but it was pretty rough. I was sitting on Walmart all day on release day, and I feel like I wasted all of my time. So let's build the send notification function. We'll give it the URL, and here's where we're going to actually be doing our AWS SDK stuff. So we just need to build a params object, and luckily a message that we're publishing to the topic only really needs two properties, messages, and here I'll say PS5 is in stock at, and I know I'm shopping at Best Buy, so I'm gonna say at Best Buy, go get it. What are you waiting for? And then here we'll interpolate the URL into there. And then you just give it the topic ARN where to publish the message to. This is why we saved the topic ARN into our environment variables. And here I did topic. And then the last thing we just need to do is we can just return the SNS.publish. This is, if you look in the JavaScript SDK, this is just one of the functions available, publish here. You can give it a lot of stuff, but we just wanted to give it a message and topic ARN, and then you just say publish. It takes that information and it does things. Since we've already given permissions for this Lambda to publish to this SNS topic, everything should work just fine. We'll pass our params in. I want this to be async, so I'll chain the promise function call to the end of the function. And then this send notification will call publish. It'll create the promise from promise, and then it'll return that promise in the async. And then here, it's just awaiting on it as it calls it. And so basically, if there are any errors, we'll log them, and we're checking the stock. And so what you could see is that, like, if you really wanted to do this for other places, you just update the URL and you change the selector that check stock is looking for. And you know, you may have to do a little bit more just based on the type of page that you're looking at, but if it's as simple as Best Buy's, then this is all you really need. So yeah, this is it. So let's do some deployment here. So, all right, I'll do SLS deploy, and that's going to deploy it out, and it's going to basically create the Lambda function, and every 5 minutes it should be checking. It'll probably log a bunch of the things, but at some point you will get a ding or whatever your ringtone is for text messages. Hopefully, actually, that's not true. At some point, for sure, a PS5 will be in stock, right? You know, it's like, it might be 2022, but we will eventually have PS5s in stock, and then you can get them. So yeah, basically that's the whole video. Like I said, we went through the whole process. You can easily extend this to shop for other products like Xboxes or Switches or Yeezys, or I don't know, whatever you're into, you can basically use this process. And yeah, it's super simple, and you will be charged for a Lambda invocation. In my experience, running this specific thing, it will be between 8 and 15 seconds every time it runs. So you will need to pay for that, and whatever charges for the SNS topic. But honestly, for me, it's a price I'm willing to pay to see if I can actually get a PlayStation 5. It may be worth that for you as well. But that's all I got for you today, everyone. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you liked it, or if you are gonna try and go get a PS5, give the video a like and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. Thanks so much again for watching, and I'll see you next time.